Hello, my dear student. Hello, how are you? Okay, my dear student, today we are going to discuss the topic law of supply. So first of all, I will write down all those components and contents which we have to discuss in this chapter. So first of all, I will write down the definition. So I'm going to write down all the things which we will discuss here. First of all, we will start this topic with the definition because that will be the part of assessment objective 1 also. Definition. Second, we will discuss link between, or we can say relation between price and supply. Between price and supply. Then we will discuss movement in demand. Movement in demand. Under the head of movement in demand, we will discuss two most important concepts, and those will be extension in supply. Extension in supply we will discuss. We will make the table also, diagram as well as. And the second we will discuss contraction in supply. Contraction in supply. Then we will discuss shift in demand. Sorry, shift in supply. We will discuss shift in supply. It's not a demand topic, it's a supply. Shift in supply. Under the head of shift in supplies, we will discuss increase in supply, or it can also called outward shift, or next will be inward shift, which we will call it decrease. But just you should keep in mind increase in supply and second one is decrease in supply. At the end of this topic, we will write down we will write down causes, increase in demand causes, and sorry, I'm calling again and again demand, increase supply and decrease means what are the reasons, causes behind that decrease in supply. So let's take a start. First of all, in supply, we will explain willingness and ability to willingness we can say willingness and ability to sell goods and services to sell goods and services at given prices. So, law of supply or relationship between price and supply. So, we can say like this law of supply is like this law of supply, or you can say relationship between price and supply will be like this. If the prices will go up, right, prices of goods and services increases, the quantity of that goods or services that suppliers are willing to offer also increases, and the prices decreases, the quantity supply also decrease. So you can say like this, when there is a positive relationship between price and quantity supply, means when the price go up, the quantity supply will go up also, right? Means it's a direct relations. When the prices goes down, the quantity supply will also reduce. So the change in quantity supply is happening due to change in price. In our next topic, when we will discuss shift in demand and we will discuss increase or decrease, there will be a change in supply, but that will not be due to change in prices. Maybe the prices will remain same. Due to non-price factor, there will be a change, right? So all the time you should keep in mind, if there will be change in supply due to change in price, it's called movement in demand. So normally we can call it extension and contractions in supply. In first case, we can easily identify that our supply is increasing, and in second case our supply is decreasing. So in first case we can say extension in supply because it's extending. We can say extension in supply, and in the second situation it's a contraction in supply. So let's talk about in a detail extension. Let me write down the definitions and make the table. Extension in supply, and parallel, let me write down contraction in supply. Just we have to explain these two conditions. These two conditions we have to explain. First, you can check when the prices goes up, the quantity supply will also increase. So we can say like this, increase in quantity demand. Sorry. Increase in quantity supply due to increase in prices. Increase in prices. This is the most important word in this definitions, means the change in supply is happening due to change in price. It's So that's why we are calling extension in demand. And next we will see that, we will check that, we will read that and study the supply will also increase, but that will not due to price, due to non-price factors. So we will not call that extension in supply there. So extension in supply means increase in quantity supply due to increase in price. Says on the other hand, decrease, or you can say fall. In this you can say rise also. Fall in quantity supply due to fall in prices. Let me make the table. Extension in supply first. Okay, this one is our prices. And this one is our quantity supply. So it's about extension. So the arrow will go up. For example, when the price was $10, the supplier was supplying the quantity 200 units. When the price increased from 10 to 20, the supply also increased from 200 to 400. It's called extension in supply. On the other hand, I will make a table, but let me make this diagram first. So how we will make the diagram? It will be like this. We will keep our prices on y-axis and our quantity supply will be on x-axis. Just I will label here 10 and 20. Even though you can write down P naught or P1, but I think so it will be easy. 200 and 400. With the help of table, when the price was $10, how much quantity was being supplied by the supplier? 200. So this one and this one. When the price will increase, the supply will also increase. So this is the positive relation. So all the time supply curve will be upward because there is a positive relation between price and quantity supply. By joining these points, even though I can give the name to these points also. For example, I can say like this: A point and B point. You can check that it is extending from A point to B, which is called extensions, means from 200 to 400. This one is our supply curve. So let's talk about contraction in supply. In contraction in supply, let me make the table first here. It's about contraction in supply. So it means the quantity supply arrow will go down, and if it will go down, the price will also go down. Okay, for example, when there was $50 price, 200 units were being supplied. When the price fall from 50 to 25, the quantity supply also fall 100. It is contracting. So same like this, we will keep our prices on y-axis and quantity supply will be on x-axis. 25, 50, 100, 200. When the price was 50 at that time, quantity, okay, by joining these points, we can call it point A. When the price go down, the supply will also fall. So you can check. This one is the B point. By joining these point, again we can find out. This one is also in both cases, if there will be extension in demand or contraction in demand, the supply curve will upward because there is a positive relation. So I will write down supply curve, and now you can check that it's contracted means move from A point to B point means from 200 to 100. It was all about extensions and contractions. And let me clear one thing, extensions and contractions, it will come under the head of movement in demand. And movement in demand means change in demand will happen due to change in prices. All the time you should keep in mind when you have to write down the definitions of extension in supply or contraction in supply whatsoever. Next we will discuss extension in demand and extension in contraction in demand also. When you will listen the word extension and contraction, you should must keep in mind that there will be interference of the prices, means the change is happening in the supply and as well as in the demand due to change in prices. So let's move to shift in supply. And one more important movement in demand or movement in supply, it will be along x-axis, means there will be no new curve. But when we will when we will make a shift in demand, it will be due to non-price factors. So let's talk about shift in demand or shift in supply will be same. Shift in supply means you can say like this, change in supply due to non-price factors. Non-price factors. What's the meaning of non-price factors? Non-price factors means you can say input cost, technology, taxes, and subsidies. You can say production input cost, say input cost. We can say due to technology. when the organization will introduce advanced technological integration, definitely the quality will also improve. When the quality will improve, the people will demand that product and firms will supply more to that product. Technology and taxes and subsidies. Taxes and subsidies. Okay, when there will be taxes means indirect tax, it will increase the production cost, so supply will decrease. When there will be subsidy means the government is assisting to the firms, financially support the government is providing to the firms, so at that time supply will increase. So next one can be number of salads, or you can say expectations about future prices, you can say expectation future prices. Under the head of shift in supply, we will discuss increase in supply, increase in supply, and decrease in decrease in supply. So you have to write down the definition. As I have already explained that these all things will comes under the head of shift in supply. So under the head of shift and supply, I mean we should explain increase in supply and decrease in supply, and it will be happen due to non-price factor. I mentions all the non-price factor. So when you have to write down the definitions, increase in supply, you will write down increase in quantity supply due to non-price factors. When you was writing down the definition of extension in supply, even though extension and increase both seems like same, but when you have to write down the definition of extension in demand or extension in supply, you should must say that the change is happening due to prices. But when increase and decrease, it will be due to non-price factors, means increase in quantity supply due to non-price factors. For example, if the production cost or input cost will low, then the firms will produce more goods and services and the supply will increase. When the taxes will high, the government will decrease the supply. So one by one we will discuss increase in quantity supply due to non-price factors. It's called increase, and decrease in quantity supply due to non-price factor. If non-price factors will not in the favor of the economy, definitely there will be decrease in the supply. And if non-price factors will be favored in the economy, so it will be increase in supply. Suppose, for example, if there will be low taxes, there will be, if low taxes, the supply will increase. If there will be subsidies by government to the firms, the supply will increase. If there will be technological integration, if there will be low input cost, then there can be increase in supply. The most important thing, when you will make the diagram of increase in supply, you will show like this. For example, this is the first one. Suppose this one is a first supply curve. You can call it S naught. When there will be increase in supply, there will be one new supply curve will generate, but on the right side. All the time, when increase in supply, new supply curve will be on the right sides. It is called outward shift. So the new supply curve will be on this side. It will be the right side of the first one. So it will show that increase in supply. When I will make a decrease in supply, it will be like this. For example, there is one supply curve already exists here, S naught. If there will be decrease in supply, the new supply curve will be on the left side. This supply curve will show that there is a decrease in the supply. What's the reason behind that? Why the supply will reduce? You can check opposite of these points. Means if there will be high taxes, the government, the firms will not produce goods and services. When they will not produce goods and services, there will be no supply. Means supply will go down. On the other hand, high high input cost, outdated technology, political instability, and unfavorable weather. So due to these reasons, the supply will decrease. Extension in demand and in contraction in demand, that change in supply will be happen due to change in price. There will be just only one supply curve. But when we will talk about increase in supply and decrease in supply, there will be two supply curve. If the new one will be on the right side, it means increase in supply. And if the new one supply curve will be on the left side, it means decrease in supply. And it's all about due to non-price factors. And I have explained all non-price factors. Low taxes, when there will be low taxes, supply will increase. When there will be subsidies, supply will increase. When there will be technological integration, supply will increase. When there will be full employment, supply will also increase. When there will be in low input cost, supply will increase. On the other hand, when there will be high taxes, when the government will impose high corporate tax on firms profits, so the firms will never try to produce more goods and services, right? So same like that, if there will be high input cost means if the raw material cost is high. On the other hand, if the workers will demand high wage, So the firms will never try to produce goods and services. So it was all about law of supply. So according to Cambridge, we have no more comments and extra content about that. So is it done? Okay, take care.